So there's these shallow approaches to well-being, like take a bubble bath, eat, meditate every day, which is great. We both meditate, but what do you think leads to deep well-being?
I think deep well-being is not having a desire to escape the present moment. Truly, I think wellness is almost what is like a lack of in some ways, because I think simplicity is key to wellness. I think if you're not satisfied with simplicity, or you're trying to always chase the next thing, or always, I mean, of course, we can better ourselves constantly, but I think if your mind is somewhere else, or you're wishing for something else, or you're resisting the moment, ultimately, I think that's a reflection of not being well, so to speak.
Mm.
And because I don't think it's always like the material stuff. Like, of course, having a roof over our heads is helpful, but you see people who are super happy and smiling who have less than maybe what you have. So I think it's beyond a mentality. I think it's about you being satisfied and happy with the present moment and not trying to escape anything.
Nice, nice. I think it's very easy to take a kind of materialist perspective into well-being, and it can become one more thing to get, the shopping
Oh
list
my
kind of
God,
thing,
yeah.
rather than that satisfaction. I was just sitting on the couch with my girlfriend having a hug earlier, and our life's quite simple right now. We're not super rich or anything, but it was like, our life's good. And it's just some simplicity in being able to be present with that, right?
Yeah. Absolutely. I totally get that. I agree. I've had very similar mornings. So, yeah, and I think it's just about allowing yourself to recognize that, like, you don't have to have everything figured out to be satisfied either, because like there's still stuff I'm figuring out and still things I'm working on, or goals or whatever. And I don't allow that to block my satisfaction in the moment right now, because I think it's about taking those pauses and feeling the satisfaction and tuning into your body, and allowing yourself to feel contentment that is a source of fuel. I think it helps you stay even more aligned with your true desires, because if you don't take that time to feel satisfied and content and present, then I feel like your compass is going to be off regardless.
Right. There's a nice sort of yin yang paradox here, isn't there?
Oh yeah, I love that.
Right, there's this sort of yin of everything is fine. And
Mhm.
then what I love about the States when I go there is this yang of, you know what? And I can go get it. I can go get what I need. I can go after my goals. I can, achieve whatever the thing I want to achieve is. And I feel like really happy people, they do both. Because otherwise, one side is passivity. On the other
Mhm.
side is just this constant,
Yes.
hungry striving that our economic system loves, but it's
Yep.
probably not so good for the nervous system.
Yeah, I totally agree. And yeah, the yin yang, like the masculine, feminine, however you want to, whatever language you want to use surrounding those themes. Because yeah, I would say like you're so right. In the United States, we live in a very like hyper dominant masculine. And when I say masculine, that's like the output of energy, where your focus is going. And I was stuck in that masculine shield for a long time. Like because of my life circumstances or whatever it was, I was just constantly going and burning the candle at both ends and masking and overriding like mental health stuff, because I thought that like I had to, or like, oh, once I get here, then I'll be okay, or whatever the case may be. And it just was this hamster, just this fucking constant hamster wheel, and chasing the carrot at the end of the stick. And I feel like that's something I see a lot just in the wellness field itself. And I've called this out on my own
Right.
podcast, where it's like, no one has all the answers. You're not going to read a 4-step book and have your shit figured out. Like it's not that simple, but because it is that simple. And I think that that's huge, is people will gatekeep and be like, hey, like once you do things my way, then you're going to be okay. I think it's about like, you got to learn to tune into yourself to find out what actually resonates and works for you.
Right, so that's a kind of embodied listening approach to well-being, right? So rather than being like, I've got a list and I'm going to tick off the list because this guru said, or this method, I've got
Mhm.
10 things I need to do a day. It's like, do I actually want that? Is that actually going to nourish me? And that's a little more complicated because you've got to tune in and listen rather than just tick off the list.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. It makes me think of like my dad, like he bought this like I think he found it on Instagram, one of those Instagram ads that's gonna solve all your problems of like, oh, you're feeling this so all these mushroom coffees, and he's like, this is disgusting. This tastes like crap. But he shared with me how like Oh, but like the marketing behind it is so powerful of like, if these are your problems, here's your solution. I think that's something that's huge in American culture. Maybe it's because of the big pharma messaging. I don't know, but it's like,
Uh-huh.
here's your problem. Here's a pill. Here's your issue. Here's this silver bullet
We
that's
can
going to
sell
fix
it.
everything.
And it's
Yeah.
something you can sell, right? It's not like call your mum, go for a walk in the woods. These are not productizable in the same way.
Mhm.
You know,
Yeah.
it's you mentioned sort of one Michaela Boehm we had on the summit recently called go versus flow, you know, yin and yang, go and flow, she calls it, which I like. It's very simple,
I like
straightforward.
it.
I mean, I don't know you well, but the times I've interacted with you, you seem like a very flow person. And this is a very go world. And I'm a pretty go guy, and I'm still exhausted by this world. And when I talk to more flow, primarily female, not all, but primarily female students and friends, it just seems like the constant go of modernity is exhausting. Is that the
Yeah.
case?
Oh, 100%. Because we're not built to do that. I think and it's so funny to hear you say that you perceive me as a flow person, because I think, 5 years ago people would have said the opposite. Like I was
Mm.
known for my tenacity, but it was exhausting, and it took me a long time to unwind from that and like feel safe in going with the flow. Because I think if we experience all this messaging of like survival is when you're going, like if you want to eat, you got to work for it or whatever it is. And of course, there's some truth in that, but that I don't think that the flow state is as celebrated or even communicated as a necessity just for overall balance and to experience that satisfaction. But yes, being in the flow state, I think it requires a lot of trust from yourself, from life, from what you set up for yourself when you are in the go state. Because I think for me to experience the flow, I do have to be in the go. I do have to like set things up so that way I can have this container to relax into my feminine, to relax into that flow state and allow. Because I think it's about that co-creation with the universe, if you want to call it that, of like, not everything has to be on my shoulders. I can do a lot of great things and set up a great foundation, but then I sometimes have to just surrender and allow and let
Yeah.
some things that I
Yeah.
might not understand come to fruition.
It's nice. You got a good dad, right?
I do. I love my dad.
Yeah, I knew you did. I knew you did. The people I see who have like the women who have the best flow, it's because they've got this like trust anchor of a good dad, even if it was, years ago. Good. Let's talk curiosity. So, why is curiosity important?
Gosh, curiosity, I think is one of the most beautiful states of mind we can experience as a human. It connects us to our inner child. I think that children have this beautiful, just inherent optimism and excitement that I think sometimes we lose touch with as adults as we go through painful things. But and even you even see this with animals. If I talk to my dog in this excited voice, he doesn't care what we're doing. He's just excited. He's like, oh my
Just
gosh.
nervous system is there, right? He's
Yes,
happily
exactly. And I think,
upregulated. Yeah.
yeah, kids are the same way. I think if even if they don't know what Disney World is, or even if they don't know what a certain thing is, they aren't suspicious of it. They're just like, oh wow, an adventure.
Yeah,
And
without trauma. Yeah, more
right,
traumatized people populations have less
yeah,
trust in that way, right? Than
for sure. And I think curiosity allows us to remain in that flow state. And also, I think when curiosity is present, judgment is not. Because I think when curiosity is present, your mind is more open, more receptive, more inquisitive, and your ego is able to take a seat. Whereas, like when
Mm,
judgment is present, you're already like firing on that super conscious mind. And I don't feel like you have as much touch and connection to the subconscious. When curiosity is there, I feel like it allows space for, I'm going to ask questions, but I'm also going to listen to my heart space. I'm going to listen to my subconscious as well. So I think curiosity allows us to, again, contain that balance within ourselves.
probably not my biggest talent. I notice it's quite linked to my capacity. So, for example, this year I'm much weller, say the last 6 months than I was a year ago. And that's great. And I've found my curiosity come back. I've started like learning more. I've been more interested in different courses and different teachers. As a podcaster, it's easier to be
Yeah.
curious. But then when I'm like really tired and run down and not well, I'm just like, screw it. I'm in survival mode and I just lose that. that curiosity. So do
Yeah.
you think that's typical that it links to this capacity issue?
Oh, 100%. Because I
Mm.
think you have to be relaxed to be curious. Because I think when we're bored and we're not constantly distracted, that's when curiosity can spark and come, and we can start to pull those things down from the ethers or explore those depths within ourselves as we're relaxed. And when we're relaxed, that's again like when our super conscious mind is able to take more of a seat and balance out with our subconscious mind too. So I feel like it makes a lot of sense why curiosity is not vital when you're in that survival mode. Because when you're in survival mode, like who gives a shit about like the wonders of the world? You're just trying to stay alive.
Yeah, yeah, there's a tiger in the room, metaphorically. Yeah.